Welcome to New Realities. I'm Alan Steinfeld, and I really have a fantastic show that I'm looking forward to because this is someone I've been wanting to interview for a long time, and she is just full of wisdom and excitement and joy and possibility. So, Sarah Breksman Cosme, thank you so much for being here today. And before we go into the interview, I want to say that Sarah and I are appearing many conferences coming up around the world, really. And one that I really want to promote that I think everyone should go to, all of them, but this one in Mexico. Do you see this on your screen, Sarah?
It hasn't come up yet.
Has it come up now?
Not
No,
yet.
no, you don't see it
Uh-uh.
on your screen. No, you don't see it on your screen. Okay. Um,
Maybe if
it's,
you push play.
okay, I'll push play. Okay, let me just bring it up. And here, this one in Mexico is going to be very exciting.
For the first time, the Ufology World Congress
Yes.
arrives in Mexico City, a special Latin American edition, the most important congress worldwide. Science, ufology, and spirituality this December 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, 2023. With the stellar presentation of Dr. Michio Kaku, Jaime Maussan, Abraham Loeb, Enrique de Vicente, Doctors Mr. and Mrs. Hurtak, Edward Betancourt, and many internationally renowned world-class speakers at Expo Santa Fe. 30 conference workshops simultaneously. Buy your tickets now at www.theufologyworldcongress.com/mx. Produced by We Are Love.
Yes, we are going to be at that conference, including my lovely guest here and many other fantastic people. Teal Swan's going to be there. So that's one thing we're at. We're there in Mexico City, December 1st to 3rd. There's a link below in the description. We're going to be at Stairway to the Stars in Las Vegas. We're going to be, I mean, not like we're traveling together, though. Anyway, we'll announce all
Maybe
that.
we should.
Sure, you propose. No. No. Let's get into your work because that's really what's so exciting. You're trained in the Dolores canon, sort of past life regression stuff. And what Dolores discovered was these other parallel lives, these other intersecting lives for people that have not always been human. Why don't you explain what Dolores discovered and then what you've discovered on top of all that stuff that Dolores had discovered?
Sure. Dolores worked for 45 years to discover this method. And basically, the main goal of this method is to regress a person and bring them to the very deepest level of trance and then access their higher consciousness. And she found that when she did this, she could find out anything about a person. She could find out who they really are, in their true purpose, even, and they could even heal themselves. And I got into all of her work by accident. I started out wanting to go down a different route. I wanted to become a psychologist, but life took me in a totally different direction. And it was never my intention to do any of this stuff. That's why I always think to myself when people say, oh, you have to dream it to become it. Well, I never dreamed any of this stuff. It just felt like one series of events led to another that I had no idea, like I had no idea I'd be doing this stuff at all. But I got into Dolores's work because after going through all the motions to get a degree in undergraduate school before becoming a psychologist, I had an internship where my job was to counsel people and go over the different counseling techniques and then give them their medication. And that just really changed the trajectory of my life because I felt like it wasn't really the path that I wanted to continue on. So I eventually found hypnosis, and I got into Dolores Cannon's method by accident because I wanted to become a master hypnotist, and I was doing lose weight, quit smoking, and past life regressions because I had to, and I wasn't really even into the past life regressions, but the past life regressions just seemed to help people so much. And people were healing themselves with just one session. So I wanted to look deeper into this. And that's when I studied with Dr. Brian Weiss. And he was my first teacher. And I did his method for many, many years. And he's fantastic. But I felt like there was something missing in my life. So I contacted this psychic. Her name was Emmanuel McIntosh. We're actually friends now. But when I had this reading with her, she said, this is the easiest psychic reading I've ever done, because
Wow.
everybody's has many different potentials, but you have one, and it's so clear. You're supposed to do Dolores Cannon's method of work, and you're going to get really good at this. You're going to be helping her teach this method, and you're going to be writing books and speaking about them all over the world. And I thought, that feeling when you have a terrible psychic reading and you want to be polite. I just thought, oh man, this is so not me. I don't know who she's talking about. So I didn't even look into this Dolores Cannon person. I just thought, what a terrible psychic reading. Like, I'm never spending money on a psychic again. All those thoughts went through my mind. And it was maybe 6 months later that Dolores just happened to pop up on my computer. And I looked into it and I thought, maybe this is pretty interesting. And as soon as I booked and took that class, it was like instant resonance. I felt the goosebumps all over. I just knew I wanted to do this method. And just like this psychic said, I went from the very bottom level of that method all the way up to the top. And I was teaching it with Dolores Cannon's daughter all over the world before the quarantine. And I wrote books and then started speaking about them all over the world. But, Dolores's method is so interesting because a weird phenomenon happens when you really get into this type of work. Maybe it's the case with anyone that gets into any kind of spiritual work, but it feels like you touch magic or something, because weird things start happening in your life. I mean, I wasn't planning on doing any of this stuff. I never planned on writing a book. I never considered myself to be a writer even. So the fact that I'm writing books and I'm doing this work is so crazy to me.
But tell us about some of the weird stuff, because you've gone really, so Dolores took people to a certain level of star lifetime experiences, but I think you've discovered something even more beyond all that. So talk about some of the weird stuff that started to happen, because that's really interesting.
So I wanted to take the level 3 class, which is the master level class, and I needed someone to regress on the spot. So I had to find a volunteer that wouldn't mind being videotaped for this class. So I asked one of my friends who I'd been friends with for over 10 years, and I knew that she didn't believe in any of this stuff because she was a teacher at the kids' school. But I asked her by accident because I had been friends with her for so long, and she was just the first person that I asked. And I told her, hey, would you volunteer to be my subject? All you have to do is I'm going to regress you, and you can find out anything though if you're curious, and you can even heal yourself. And she just looked at me in shock and she said, I didn't really realize that's what you did, because she was suffering from this brain condition called pseudotumor cerebri, which was this flooding of her spinal fluid in her brain. And she hadn't told anyone. She was keeping it really quiet, hadn't told anyone from the school. The only person that knew was her husband and this team of specialists that she worked with at the University of Miami. But they told her there's no cure for this. So in her first session, I regress her, and she goes back to these ancient civilizations and recounts them in so many details. And then after this first session,
was that the first time you brought people back to some ancient civilization, or didn't happen?
No, I had been doing this method, but I wasn't a level 3 practitioner yet. I was already doing this method, and I started out doing past life regressions in 2009. But I was trying to get my master level. So I needed to get this volunteer, and I had to get this video submission. So I regressed her, and she went back to this ancient lifetime, which I thought was, pretty cool because she didn't believe in any of this stuff. But of course, many people don't believe in any of this stuff and they have amazing regressions too. But I just thought it was even more interesting for me because this is my friend who really didn't believe in this kind of thing. And here she was seeing this ancient civilization in so many details. And we came to understand that this ancient civilization was this place called Lemuria, but they called it Aman. That was the name for where they lived. And it was in the South Pacific, and it was a matriarchal society. And then she started realizing in that lifetime that there were these visitors that were showing up, and these were humans, but they were very, very advanced. And when they couldn't get what they wanted from this civilization that she grew up in, they took her as a prisoner, and she spent about 60 years in this prison within Atlantis. So after this session, I asked to speak with her higher self. And I asked the higher self, why did you show her this lifetime of all lifetimes? And you could have shown her anything. And her higher self said, because the two of us had agreed before coming into this life to uncover specific information and to share it with the world, that the world had been waiting for thousands and thousands of years. And then now the evolution of the consciousness has reached a point where this information can be shared. And the two of us had tried multiple lifetimes to share this information, but we never were successful. A lifetime that she tried to share this personally by herself was in the 1970s, and it was too soon. So the consciousness has hit the point now where it's okay to share this information. We decided to come in to do this. So I thought, well, that's a nice story. But as a practitioner, I hear lots of things all the time, and I really didn't think anything about it. But then I asked her higher self, well, what is the very root cause of her brain condition? And they said the very root cause was just the catalyst for her to see me, because she would have never had this type of session if she didn't have some sort of motivating factor. And they were right. She would have never done this with me without some sort of motivating factor, because she didn't believe in any of this stuff. So then I said, well, okay, well, since that was the only motivating factor, can you release it now then? If she came in and had this session? And they said yes. And all of a sudden, my friend could feel it draining. She could feel it draining like behind her left eye.
Wow.
And she felt so good after this session that she stopped taking this heavy duty medication because it was causing all kinds of side effects that were horrific. And then she had to go get another scan from the University of Miami because she was working very closely with her team. And she went in for her scan and they couldn't even believe it. They could not believe it. They said her condition shrunk so severely that she basically didn't need any of the medication, and they could hardly find it on the scan. She was basically fully healed. So they said they don't know how to explain it. And she told them that she just, did the session. She didn't change her diet or anything like that. She just did Dolores Cannon's method of QHHT. So anyway, the two of us got together again because we thought, what is this story? It must be important. If it was so powerful that she could heal herself, well, what is it that they want to share with us? Because I was really curious after that. And she was curious too. So I regressed her and I told her higher self, take us to the beginning of the story. Take her to the beginning of the story that you want us to share with the world. What is so important that the world has been waiting thousands and thousands of years for? And I know that the two of us thought that she would be regressed back to that ancient civilization in Lemuria. We thought that most likely that she would start from the beginning, that we would uncover this childhood, what it was like in a lot of detail, and that was the beginning of the story. No, that was not the beginning of the story. Her higher consciousness, my friend's higher consciousness, took her back to another lifetime when she was an extraterrestrial, crash landing on Earth for the first time. Now, my friend did not believe in extraterrestrials, which made this even crazier. And I knew this because we had been friends for 10 years. And before doing this session together, I asked her, what are your beliefs about different things? She didn't even know she believed in past lives, but, she was willing to be open enough to that. It was a definite no when it came to extraterrestrials. She said, no, I don't believe in them. Just the thought makes me uncomfortable. So here she was recounting, not in just a little detail, full detail. I mean, details that I had never heard before, because as a Dolores Cannon practitioner, I've heard people describe their lifetimes as an extraterrestrial, but these are details that I had never heard of before. So anyway, she could remember like the suit that she was wearing, how she came from this place within the Pleiadian star system, the practices that they used to use in this system, and then why they were coming to Earth, why they needed to seed Earth. They were running out of resources. And it was so interesting to understand that there was like this whole culture that she belonged to, and just how she became a commander of that ship. It was so interesting because it's so much different than our society today, where it's pretty much chosen which avenue that you will go into, because it's almost like created, like designer. The baby is created, and no one gestates their babies in this place. It's so much different than that. It's such it was so interesting.
But
So,
wait, how do you know when you go back if people aren't just imagining it and they're really accessing their soul Akashic record? How do you know the difference? Or is
oh,
there no?
well, that's such a great question. Well, see, this is why I think it was so important that I had this experience with her, because I knew her. So I knew she wasn't making any of this up, because I knew she wouldn't even have ever looked into it, or she would have never like um known about their society or known these type of details, because she didn't believe in any of them. So it helped me really validate that this was a possibility, because I've always been kind of skeptical. I mean, that's how I grew up. I am skeptical until it's really proven to me. And that was the case there. So I could see why it was so important that she was the subject that brought this information, because I wouldn't have believed it if it was somebody else that had access to this type of stuff. But it was interesting really getting to understand like the nature of our reality through this commander of this extraterrestrial ship, because this commander, they had different practices in the Pleiadian star systems, which were really fascinating to me. So they would create with these type of gemstones, almost like a vortex, or they would create a realm that they would all go into. It was almost like a ritualistic practice that they all had to do in order to function in their society. And so each person had to go into this realm at least once, because it would shock you full of enlightenment. Well, my friend, as she's remembering this lifetime as a commander, remembered that he went into this realm 7 times, and that's what led him to be the commander for this mission to Earth. And it was interesting because when each person went into this realm, they would understand the true nature of reality. So, of course, I had her remember, okay, go back to that time, go through step by step, what is this nature of reality? And so I took her back in her memory, and she said as soon as she entered into that vortex that was created, it was like all of a sudden she could feel the parts of her body separating from the core. And then she was instantly able to see the true nature of reality. And so basically the whole secret of the universe is that life is set up in a figure 8 pattern. So it looks like a figure 8 and it folds up on top of itself. And then you're shocked into this feeling where you understand that this whole thing, this reality that we're all part of, is a game. It's like a simulation game. And this game has been going on for so long. I mean, longer than we could ever possibly comprehend in the aspect of time. I mean, there was another universe that was created and has been gone before this universe. I mean, there's so many possibilities, it's infinite.
What do you mean there was another universe that was gone? You mean it had
This, this universe that
Yeah.
we are in, there was another universe before this one. I mean,
That
this
we were
game,
also incarnated into.
yes, yeah. We're all
And
part of this group.
so,
All,
but that's pretty amazing. So do you find like a common theme? I think you'd have, because that's why you wrote the Sphinx book. Talk about those extraterrestrial common themes, and
okay.
also we'll go into the Sphinx, because I just was at the Sphinx and it's, I mean, feels like very familiar to me. So let's go into the extraterrestrial stuff though, because that's sort of what
But
people
there
like.
are a lot of patterns. There are a lot of common themes. A lot of people, when they're under hypnosis, they'll realize that they have another version of themselves that can communicate with them. So if you think about everyone walking the planet today, there are other versions, extraterrestrial versions of themselves. The soul doesn't, the soul splits itself in multiple fractals so that it can have multiple experiences at once. And time doesn't exist in the same way as it does on Earth. The human body is capable of limitations, but in the rest of the universe, we don't have the same limitations placed upon our other aspect bodies. So time doesn't exist. So if you think about time, everything that has happened and everything that will happen is happening in this now moment. So there are other versions of yourself. And a lot of times when my clients are under hypnosis, they realize that they've been contacted not by something other, but by another version of themselves. Sometimes even a future version. You could call it a parallel version as well, because everything is stacked up on top of each other. But many people remember being or having a lifetime as an extraterrestrial. There are many people that remember like multiple different home planets. And as soon as they see their home planet or where they originate from, it's a very emotional experience for most of them. Most of them start crying. They start to realize and feel downloaded with information about why they really are here on Earth. There are so many star seeds incarnated on the Earth plane right now as well. And what these star seeds really are is they act as like bridges to bring the consciousness from their originating place of origin onto this Earth, kind of like a tunnel system in a sense. And an awakened starseed is so powerful when they even get some of the understanding of what they're doing here. An awakened starseed is like a machine gun. They affect so many people and they don't even have to do anything. They just have to be here on this earth plane, and they're channeling tons of consciousness, light, and information into this realm. So very
Well, it's sort of
interesting.
like Jesus was like that. If you like think, or the masters or the avatars, Krishna, these
Yeah,
are awakened star seeds that come to give awakening to the planet. I mean, I would say. So,
definitely. Yeah.
so what are some of the common themes like on certain planets? You go to certain different galaxies, constellations. Talk about what you find like on the Pleiades or on Sirius
Okay.
that's common to those people that go
Well,
there.
this is going to be extremely general. This is very general, but a lot of people leave themselves telltale signs or telltale clues, and they can be genetic markers. So, for instance, many people that are contacted by Pleiadians or have had multiple lives within the Pleiadian star systems have like a little yellow crown right around their pupil. And that's usually a very telltale sign that they are an incarnated Pleiadian. People with brown eyes, and again, this is very general, many people with brown eyes will leave themselves clues that they have been reincarnated multiple times on the earth plane. So many people with brown eyes, when they're under hypnosis, will realize that they're not a new soul whatsoever to the earth plane.
Mm.
If you look at your iris in the mirror, your iris holds the blueprint of your soul. So there's, little like rings in it, and that shows the blueprint of where your soul has been. So say you look at your iris and you can see some colors in it. A lot of times these little like, oh, they look almost like stars, little sparks of like yellow light. That's oftentimes, and of course this is very general, telltale sign that you have you're from Arcturus, or you are either connecting with Arcturians. Say you
But that's
have
something, wait, that's something you discovered. These are the eyes association is your own little
yeah.
gift, a big gift. I mean, that's pretty amazing because they say you do keep the same eyes lifetime after lifetime. So it makes
Well,
sense.
the eye color can change if you've been experiencing a lot of contact with a different race or another version of yourself, a lot of contact, almost as like a clue for your own self, because it's very fascinating. But even the Andromedans, a lot of times, and Andromedans can be considered Pleiadians and Lyrians as well, but a lot of Andromedans have like a yellow streak that goes through their iris, and that is oftentimes a telltale sign. Very blue eyes can often be a telltale sign from the water planet, from Sirius. And then you can go even into more signs like your blood types, but that would be more for the earth plane. So sometimes there are clues that we leave ourselves, but just like you were talking about the Sphinx. So when you start to investigate yourself, when you go to a place like Egypt and these sacred sites, and you look around at all the hieroglyphs, and you look around at all the temples and the buildings, it looks like you're looking for some sort of a clue. Like everything is pointing you in some direction. You could tell that there are sacred writings there that it's almost like you're like, what is the answer to all this? Well, the answer that I've been told from the higher self is you are the key. When you go to these sacred sites work with your own crown chakra. You are the key to these sacred sites. So the person you're looking for is you. When you go there, all the signs will point to that. There'll be different signs that might have like the pineal gland, pointing to the pineal gland, different things that people used to do to access their inner world, but you are the key. So in any of these sacred sites, especially the Sphinx, about 1.5 feet off the ground in any sacred site are light codes. They emanate up. And so when you're close to these things, they're working with your own crown chakra. So the secret is you really can tune in to yourself if you get a moment of quiet. And whatever comes into your mind will be important. It doesn't matter what goes into somebody else's mind. It's you. You're being fed information from your own galactic origin. Many galactic origins use the Sphinx as a broadcast system. So my clients under hypnosis have noticed that the Sphinx is a radio transmitter. And there's not just one Sphinx. There are actually multiple Sphinx on the Earth plane. And what they do is they harness and broadcast information out to other places, other realms or planets, whatever you want to call them. And they broadcast back to the Sphinx. It's like a web of information. So when the seeders of our civilization, so to speak, which is also us in another version of time, when we wanted to create this experiment for ourselves to inhabit these bodies, we wanted to keep a record of it and broadcast the information out. So that's one of the reasons for the Sphinx. And the Sphinx was created on a very special rock that can magnetize and hold this information, and it silently keeps watch. And many galactic beings will communicate through the Sphinx. That's one of the reasons why when you go up to the Sphinx, and if you get a chance to touch it, it feels almost like a loving presence. That's because your galactic origin can actually communicate with you through the Sphinx, because they are communicating with you through the Sphinx.
That's really interesting. I did feel like, I don't know, a loving presence, but I felt cozy and comfortable there. Just like being in the king's chamber was like, oh yeah, I'm back home here. But do you think the Sphinx was a lioness that was protecting the Hall of Records below the left paw? Do you ever get those readings from people?
So when my clients remembered the face of the Sphinx, they described it as kind of like a jungle-like cat, like a lion-ish face, but it was more boxy, just like the other Sphinx-like structures that you would see. And the reason why it was a jungle cat was because it was built as the to mimic the apex predator of the area, just like the other Sphinxes and on the Earth plane have a different apex predator facade. But underneath the left paw, when my clients are under hypnosis looking deep down under, there are light codes, but you have to be in the right frequency in order to read it. There's also a scrying lens under there that had like a looking glass type technology, very similar to the gray technology, this like looking glass technology, but it would show the history of everything that's happened on this planet, and also prequel to when before we came to this planet, mostly the history of battles.
But you know what I'm getting from you is that, you know, your own spiritual development is just expanding every time you do these sessions, because your consciousness field is embracing everything you kind of come across. So you're expanding in those levels.
Well, that's why I feel I'm so lucky, Alan. I can't tell you. I mean, I get a firsthand ticket to all this amazing information. And that's why I feel so passionate about sharing it with everyone, because it's changed my life. I mean, I used to be really afraid of so many things, and I would be so stressed out, and I had all kinds of issues growing up. But when you do the kind of work that I do and you talk to the higher consciousness, you learn the things I learned. I mean, really is nothing to worry about. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've come to the higher consciousness asking them questions like, guys, this looks really bad. Okay. I mean, I don't know what is going to happen. And they always tell me that everything is in perfect alignment. I mean, okay, it is aligned in our stars, believe it or not, that we are to go through this evolution of consciousness. So I didn't understand, but this is what I've learned from the higher self, that our stars are actually portals. They're not really like stars, they're portals. And each person is tethered to a specific star. So you can tell which star you're tethered to by which ones or which star systems you're kind of like drawn to.
Yeah.
Like I kind of have a like always find the North Star, you know, for me, like I have a feeling like I'm drawn to it. Those are our portals where we originate from. We come here from the portal within, or the star acts as a portal. So, okay, there are 13 originating stars for humans. 13. This is what I've been told from my clients under hypnosis.
Like the colonies, like the 13 colonies.
Because this is a very important number.
Right.
There used to be 13 months. Yeah, there's a lot about the number 13 actually. But
well, it's the 12 around the one, you know, like if you have 12 balls of equal size, they touch a ball in the middle. So it's a kind of geometric form as well as it's a kind of universal structure of unity and singularity.
oh, I love that. Well, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
But our originating stars right now, where we originate, they move in like a snake-like pattern. So they go up and then they go down and then they go up. Whenever they go down, you're going into more of like a negative experience collectively. Well, our 13 originating stars are going up. So it is an alignment for us to enter into a golden age. So there is nothing that can change that. It is actually happening. So we are moving up, which makes us go into a golden age despite what you see anywhere else.
But have you regressed or progressed people to future lives as well as past lives? And what do you see when in those future lives?
Okay, so in the future, there's not one future potential. So each person creates their own reality. So you have to understand that first, because whenever people ask me, what is the future like? I can only talk from what the higher self has told me about future realities. They say right now there are 3 large ones.
3 large possibilities.
3 large possibilities.
Like timelines.
Well, timelines, but those happen after a nexus point. So the way they describe it is right now, each person's creating their own reality based on their belief system. So you know how everyone says, raise your frequency, raise your frequency. Well, that's great, but I always hear raise your beliefs. Like, and I'll tell you why. And I think it's important to keep an open mind and to think about possibilities, because raising your belief system is so amazing, because we the potential of a human's unlimited. So anyway, right now there are multiple different timelines according to what your belief system is. Literally, everything is based on your belief system. Well, we are headed towards some sort of a nexus point, which is not a bad thing.
Mhm.
I'm going to use my fingers. Okay. So we're
Okay.
all headed towards this nexus point. The nexus point could be anything. It could be a shift in the veil. There was a higher self was saying in one future potential, if the comet's tail it goes in front of the sun, then what might happen, and this is a future potential possibility, what might happen is that it will kind of like take down our toroidal field for a little while, which will like totally blast away our veil for a little while. And everyone will see into tons of different dimensions.
Yeah.
So everyone will see what is really going on in the nature of reality. That's a potential. And then
I like that one.
after that nexus point, then I've been told there's mostly likely 3. Okay. So the 3 future potentials after whatever nexus point it is. And again, it depends on the collective consciousness. There will be a merging of the timelines after this future potential. Then there are 3. So the top one is amazing. Oh my gosh. I really hope I'm on this one. But it's like we get all this help from our star brothers and sisters, clean up the ocean. We start speaking telepathically. I mean, all those things you hear about, that's what they say. It's going to be magical. I mean, we'll create new systems for our children. Everyone's going to be, it's just amazing. Okay. The middle timeline goes down the same path that the Greys went down. And okay, the reason for this is I don't know if you know much about the Greys. I'm sure you do, but
I know very much about the Greys because
okay.
I've had experiences with them, so I do.
Okay.
And
So
I'm writing about them actually. Yes.
oh, okay. So the middle timeline goes down the same potential as the Greys, where there is a potential to go too far with technology and eventually lose the planet, have to jump universes, come back in, do the same thing the Greys did. The lowest timeline is taken away right as soon. It can't go anywhere. That's been in the contract for a long time. So there's basically the 3, but the lowest one will just end because it can't be a part of this earth after the nexus point. Those people will go to a different realm where there's more duality. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
But
Yes.
so there will be 2 timelines then. But what the light worker's job will be to throw people up to the highest timeline. So they will be strategically placed in the middle timeline, pushing people up.
How do we do that? What's the best way to lift people to that timeline?
Well, the thing is that after the nexus point, there will be so much more help and so much more awareness, so that it's just going to be a matter of just expanding a person's like awareness. That's all. So, I mean, but the thing is, you can't do your life wrong, though. You can't make a mistake. Some people come into a physical reality, human life, because they want to just focus on being a human. They have no intention of awakening their consciousness. Because if you think about this, everyone, when they go back to the in-between, knows that they are God again. So they want that experience of not being God for a little bit. They want that experience of limitations. They want to fully embody being a human. So that's why a lot of couples be like, oh, my husband won't wake up, or my friend won't wake up. And the higher self has said they might not want to, they might want to just be a human.
But isn't this time that we're approaching this nexus point about merging with the higher self, so into a 5th dimensional reality? Isn't that really the destiny of sort of not this end times, but the beginning of this new phase in human history? Is this awakening? Of
course, this is the golden age. This is the time, the big, great awakening. Not only is it foretold, but like the higher self says, it is aligned within our star system. So it is happening. There's nothing that could possibly destroy that despite what you hear. You know, we are on a perfect trajectory for this. But yes, that is the hope that most people want to experience. This is one of the reasons most people are incarnated for this. But keep in mind, not everyone has those same desires. And a part of you will experience all timelines anyway. So you can't really mess this up anyway, because essentially we are one consciousness.
Right. But have you had the sense where you're getting closer to your higher self, like there's a merging, like you're more intuitive, more psychic, more and then sometimes something throws you off and you have to maybe not start from zero, but you know, you have to start to rebuild that energy. Or is that just me I'm talking?
No, I'm glad you brought that up, because what the higher self said is when a person starts to look inwards, because the universe is a reflection of us, the universe will in turn start to look inwards for you. And so you will start to become initiated, because this is all a game. Once you start to look inwards, start asking questions about yourself, get curious. Like, that's why I like that they show about the iris, you know, being the blueprint of your soul. Get curious about yourself. Start to investigate yourself and ask questions of yourself. You go through this initiation process where all of a sudden the universe starts taking an interest in you. And then you will start to see things like numbers repeating. You'll start to have more psychic awareness. And then what happens is it's almost as if you start to broadcast a signal. So then you become more prepared for contact. So like a lot of the higher consciousness or a lot of these extraterrestrial races say that they wish that we were taught how to prepare for contact, because people don't really, and you probably know all about this.
No,
but
no, no. Tell me, what do you say? How would we prepare for contact? What do you think?
Okay, so like the gray extraterrestrials, for instance, the higher self has said when a person's interacting with a lot of these extraterrestrials, they can look at you and they can see right through you. They see all of your thoughts, because the human hasn't become aware of how to calm their mind or calm their thoughts. Most people haven't. So one way to prepare for contact is to learn how to calm your thoughts, to leave an open space, so to speak, just so that you can enable your mind to be communicated with, because a lot of the communication happens telepathically. And if there's no space in your mind and you haven't prepared your mind enough for this contact, then you might miss all these higher level beings that want to communicate with you. That's one way. A lot of higher selves say that this fourth dimension is already here, and we aren't really, as a collective, becoming aware of how to access it. And so the way that we access it is actually becoming aware of the subtle energies happening around us, to really go into ourselves and becoming aware, like, okay, oh, I feel like a breeze caress my skin or something. You know, that actually could be something communicating with us. So to actually start to become more aware and develop our inner sensitivities, it will become valuable as the consciousness keeps raising. But also, go ahead.
No, I think this is all fantastic, but also what? Finish that sentence, because I want to.
But
Yes.
also, as the consciousness, the human collective consciousness is raising, so is the consciousness of our earth. And so I've also been told that we need to connect more deeply with the consciousness of the earth, because there's so many amazing things that happen when you do that. If you can connect with your environment, just even if you think you're like acting like a total idiot, you can just go outside and just connect with the consciousness of your environment, put your feet onto the ground. What happens is the higher self has said that the plants and your environment will start to respond, that whatever illness you have will be reflected in the plants. They will grow maybe a weed or a leaf of a tree or something that will be able to heal whatever issue you're having. And it will help you in so many different ways. And it will also give you answers to many different things. So I thought it was interesting that the earth will grow cures for you if you just connect
Wow.
with it.
That is so good. I think they talk about that in those Russian books. What was that? The woman who said plant a seed and then step on it every day and, just be with it as part of
Yeah.
yourself. But what you're also saying is so good for retreats. You ever lead retreats about all, tuning into the self and developing in a kind of isolated place away from the world in that way?
I do, aside from the Egypt trips, I do workshops, like 3-day workshops where I take people on like 3 days of past life regressions and also deep inner healing work, like inner child healing and things like that. Because I feel like, well, I've been told the more inner work that you do, the more you really change your inner world, the more it reflects in your outer world, since you're the one creating your own reality. A lot of times we don't realize how much trauma we haven't let go of because we haven't processed it. So I just have different ways that I've developed over the years to help people process it quickly, because I like to do things fast.
Well, but no, maybe we should do a retreat. I teach remote viewing, so combining what you do
Cool.
with the psychic development gifts of non-local mind, and maybe bring some other people in. Anyway, we'll talk
Let's
about that.
do it.
But what I did want to ask you, what you said when you reflect the universe, because some people talk about the beginning of creation is when the universe itself reflected upon itself, whatever that huge consciousness is. It reflected itself to create the levels of manifestation of creation. You've heard that, right? So
It's really interesting when I have people try to remember and go back to how the universe was created. They've seen that it was created by these beings that were full of light, but they had like a sadness to them. Either they were banished from some other universe, or there was a sadness and they created because they needed to create. So
who created them? I mean, there's being
I believe it was something before. There was
right.
something before.
So there was something before, but the original creation, the all that is and ever was and will be, the all wise knowing that spans universes and dimensions and all that, which is really the source of everyone's higher self. It's the unification of
Exactly.
all ourselves from that point, splintered in all of us to when it contemplated its own existence. That's
And the
one.
thing about it is, that's us. Because,
Yes.
and you can go within yourself to find that answer, because other societies, like other collectives, other extraterrestrial races that have really ascended. I mean, you ask them, what did you guys do to ascend your consciousness this greatly? And they said, as a collective over the millennia, they came to fully embrace and fully believe and understand that they are God. And that's what we're all doing. So we keep trying, we fail, we come back, we keep trying to like really understand this, as a collective, but we are the ones that created this whole thing.
But we're doing it. We're getting closer to that
We
nexus
are.
point. Maybe that's the nexus point that you're talking about. We're starting
Maybe.
to merge. Well, I think so. So what's the strangest, most outrageous sort of regression you ever came across? Because I know you have some good ones.
Oh my gosh. Well, I had this one where the person was remembering being an ant. And they thought it was so interesting because they were so close to the ground and they didn't have emotion. So they just felt like curious, and they were just, that was their only feeling. They went by instinct and curiosity. And then they realized they had these mandibles to eat like whatever they were eating. And it was all curiosity, but some kind of animal or something got them. And as they were dying, there was no emotion. It was just curiosity. It was really interesting. I think some of the wildest, though, would have to be different extraterrestrial races that we don't even have names for. I mean, there are like planets made up of crystals, even. There's so many things in whatever you want to call this. There are realms upon realms. I mean, even here, we're living amongst them.
So is consciousness pervasive throughout the cosmos? Is it it's in
That
every, but not inanimate objects, or do they have consciousness too?
No, that's the thing, they do. And I never really fully understand, like, I never understood how powerful it would be to work with a crystal because I just thought they were pretty. But the higher self said that, like, say you have a crystal, the harmonic frequency of a crystal is in a special kind of like harmony. So
Mm.
the frequency of this is has a harmony to it that even when you're taking a walk and you pick up a rock, that rock starts to work with your energetic system, and it actually starts to change your your frequency. So you can use crystals to work on your body, and all you would have to do is to tell it, work with my body and change it into the perfect harmonic frequency. And since you're the one that has the power, then it will do that.
Is that
Different crystals.
is
So
that labradorite you have
no,
there?
this is Multivite.
Oh, that's more. And the other one, what's the?
This is Covalite. I got it at the Conscious Life Expo.
Oh, nice. So do you feel different frequencies from different rocks? I mean, are you sensitive to that?
I'm not that sensitive. I mean, I like them, they're pretty, but I can't really feel it. I just tell it what to do, and then the higher consciousness will tell me if I did a good job or not.
So where's your work taking you now? Like what will you be speaking about in Mexico and in Las Vegas? What's like your big excitement?
Well, I love doing this. I mean, it's so fun for me. I get to go to all these places and speak about this stuff, and it's so fun. In Las Vegas, I'm going to be talking about what the extraterrestrials have told me about how a person can become a superhuman, because the human being has unlimited potential, and we have no idea. We're never taught this in school, how to do this. So I'm going to talk about that.
Give us a little taste of that, because that's really exciting. I'm going to definitely see you talk.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is so cool when I heard my client talk about this. Our energetic system is geared so that our emotions act as the gateway through the universe. Like, so many beings wish that they could have access to the type of emotional body that we have, and we don't even know how to use it. So
Mm.
the extraterrestrials have said that we can use our emotions to manifest things, to create different things around us, to even help us if we're sick or different things like that. So I'm going to just talk about a lot of different things, what they've shared with me. And, but okay, one way you can do this, just short, is you can focus on an emotion, really bring it into your awareness, like become, one easy way is just focus on gratitude or something you're grateful for. It's usually the easiest feel good, way to feel good. And then when you've really kind of magnified that emotion, what happens in your body is your soul actually starts to sing. I never knew this, but each soul has a kind of song that it
Yeah.
produces.
Vibration, frequency.
Yeah, and it produces a song that you can't hear it, but it's the rest of the universe can. So it acts as a gateway. So your emotions open up a gateway, and then your body's producing like this type of frequency. And then you can visualize anytime a human has a strong emotion, it's opening up portals of possibilities. So if you think about that, anytime you're experiencing a strong emotion, you can just visualize something you want to bring to your
Even
life.
if it's a negative emotion, like people,
Yeah, yeah,
anything, you're saying they're
okay.
opening up portals to manifest because
Yeah.
it's a, oh, so
So negative emotions do the opposite. Yeah.
but instead of just complaining about whatever your emotionality is about, you can use that energy to actually access
Yeah.
manifestation.
You can. Yes, you can. And you can't do this wrong anyway, because there's no, wrong way to live your life, because it's just a bunch of learning experiences, really.
Mm,
But
mm.
in Mexico City, I'm going to talk about, I have a book that's got translated to Spanish, and it's my first book, A Hypnotist Journey to Atlantis. So I'm going to talk about Atlantis, and my presentation is called Do You Remember Atlantis? Because there's telltale signs that people can kind of like investigate within themselves. And I just have some slides of people that have been under hypnosis. When they're under hypnosis talking about these things, I like to show them because a lot of times they can trigger people's memories. So I'm going to present that. And then
well, just let me ask
conscious
you,
life.
have you been outside of Mexico City? There's a city called Tula, where there's these Atlantean statues on this little
Whoa.
plaza. Yes, and they're
We'll have
supposedly,
to go.
yes, it's called Tula. It's a very mystical place, actually. Carlos Castaneda wrote about it. But okay, what else were you going to say? Because you have so
Oh,
many things.
yeah, no, I mean, and then have another Egypt trip coming up, well, next May,
When?
and then one in September.
Wow, you are doing so many amazing. People love it and they're awakening, and you really, and you're happy. Look how happy you look. You're always happy when I see you. And it's really,
That's fun.
it is fun. I definitely want a session. I'll have a session. You will do another interview. We can talk about the sessions, and I think they're just good, like therapy to work through whatever might be up in this lifetime and see where it's related to parallel lifetimes. And then we're going to Sedona too. What are you doing in Sedona?
Oh, I don't know if I'm going to Sedona or not yet, but if I
Oh, right.
do, we'll see. But I love Sedona because it's such a beautiful vortex point, and it's such a beautiful energy system of the earth.
Do you get more powerful readings on these vortex points when you do a regression?
Definitely, because the veil is thinner there, so it can be easier to access someone's higher consciousness.
Mm. Well, this is amazing. Thank you for your work. And then can people, but actually you got some chats online where people love your work. Some people actually experienced your work
Oh,
in the chat. And one person asks about light language, and it just comes out of their mouth, these unknown. Talk about that when you regress people and there's some kind of a, higher language comes through.
when you're in a session like this and your conscious mind is quiet enough, you can start to experience other languages that your soul knows how to speak. That could be from many different places that you originate from. Sometimes this language can be very healing and bring light. So even just like the language itself, the light language itself, there's also other symbols that come through people when they're under hypnosis. Like there's this ancient clearing symbol that a lot of the druids and andromedons would bring through the clients, especially the ones that have telltale signs with the yellow streak in their eyes. And it was like this kind of like curved, like two curved lines, and then one in the middle. It looked like an H with like two half moons. But that's a clearing symbol that would go through their bodies and would basically clear out a lot of old trauma from ancient civilizations. So I thought it was interesting.
What about the Ankh? What does that mean when you see in the
So
Egyptian? Yeah.
that symbolizes, I believe, everlasting life, but I haven't seen that come through in any like symbolism from the star people. But all the all these symbols are keys. They're coded, like what they do. So any of these ancient symbols, when you look at them, it's like a key that goes into a lock. So it's a holographic symbol. So you look at them and it's downloading information, and you don't really have to do anything other than look at it. In a lot of these places in Egypt, those sacred symbols are on the walls just so that you will go and be downloaded with this information. And then it will
Mhm.
then stay in your subconscious.
Someone wants to contact you about a session. Where do they go for that?
Well, they can go to my website, theholistichehypnotist.com, but I don't have anything available right now because it gets booked as soon as I put it on my website. But I have a 3-day workshop so that in that way I can help more people and everybody can experience this deep inner healing.
The holistic.
Holistic, theholistichehypnotist.com.
Okay, the holistic. I'll put that in the chat. Okay, but sometimes you have things open up for you.
Sometimes I'll have a cancellation.
Right. But I just want to say what's so interesting about your work is that everyone, you walk out in the streets of the city or anywhere you go, and people look like regular people, ordinary people, and they don't think about how incredible their soul connection is.
Yes.
They just think they're regular, ordinary. I mean, especially people who aren't used to this kind of language, but you can see, I bet, looking at people, how infinite and complex and multifaceted each person is.
That's the thing I do. I do
I
see
know.
that because I know that we are all of us, everyone you see today is part of this ancient group of beings. We're all really important. And
Mm.
so I know this from doing so many sessions. So I look at a person and I think to myself, wonder what their story is. Like, what kind of consciousness are they bringing to this earth plane? Or what is their mission that they're here to do? What do they store in their DNA? All of
Well,
that
there's
stuff does go through my mind.
no, but what I think you're saying also is there are no ordinary people.
Oh, no, yeah, there are not. Everyone's
Everyone
important.
everyone is. And how would the world look, you think, if everyone realized the complexity of their soul knowledge? What would that look like to you or to
Oh,
us?
I think it would be beautiful. That's why I think it would be really great for more people to be curious about themselves. Because I mean, even if you think about it, right before you're falling asleep or right when you're waking up in the morning, you have access to that deep theta state. And there's a whole world in there, and it's like becoming aware of your inner world and like really getting curious about who you really are. And then starting to develop the sensitivities to try to connect with your own higher consciousness. I mean, your higher consciousness comes out all the time, even when you're not doing a session. Like if you're ever giving someone advice about something and all of a sudden this stream of consciousness just kind of flows through your mouth and gives the best advice in the world, but you didn't even know this information. That's because that's your higher self. And you can make that connection, kind of seeing how it communicates through you. And it's amazing the possibilities, the things that we can do if we start to really go inwards.
Right. And then the ETs arriving will really be a positive time. And I think the government is starting to crack under the pressure that now's the time. And it's not like they can stop them, but there's a sort of a consensus reality that is formulated by those in charge. In a sense, they're trying to manipulate reality, just like the church did back then in the Middle Ages. And now people are having too many experiences and they're breaking free of the reality hold that the media and the politicians and whoever else has. So
Because a lot of these extraterrestrial groups used to go to who they believed our leaders to be, but now they're going to the people. And so many people are having experiences.
really, did they really? I don't think those extraterrestrials really believe those people were leaders.
I don't know. The Greys said, well, this is according to my clients under hypnosis, that they claim responsibility. They claim they gave us like fiber optics, like 3D
I think
printing,
they did.
and face recognition technology. But they said that who they gave it to went back on their contract, and there's some stuff I can't talk about, but they
You
said
can't
they
tell that.
started they started
What?
getting, I'll tell you later.
All right, all
But
right.
they've started going to the people because yes, what you just said
Hmm.
about when you control the human belief system, you control reality.
Yeah.
So that's why when you go inwards, no one can control you anymore. When you develop your own inner world and you start to see that you are so powerful, and also you see how much help that you have on this
Hmm.
realm, no one can control you, and you can control your inner world. Basically, you can control, maybe not control, that's probably a bad word. You can help your
Hmm.
external reality because things work out for you better than what you really plan for yourself most of the time.
But anyway, thank you, thank you, thank you. First of
Thank
all,
you.
for the work that you're doing.
Thank
And
you for the work you're doing, Alan. You're amazing. You're speaking at
well,
all these places too, and you're just like such a go-getter. I appreciate all the work you're doing and helping so many people and putting a book like that out to help people. It's really amazing what you're doing.
well, thank you, thank you. So let's see where we can take everyone to the next level, right? Let's
Yeah.
go and I recommend Sarah's work, her books, and the conferences. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to show. I wanted to show people the Las Vegas event that is coming up. Stairway to the Stars. Do you have anything you want to say about that?
Well, aside from speaking about how to become a superhuman according to the extraterrestrials,
Right.
I get to do a live regression in front of the audience and put someone deep under hypnosis and access their higher self and open it up to the audience for questions.
Okay, let me see if this comes up now. Does you see that on your screen?
Join us November 10th, 11th,
Yes.
and 12th, 2023, as Disclosure Fest Foundation and Fade to Black Radio presents Stairway to the Stars, a Human Origins Science and Technology Expo, live at the Luxor Hotel and Casino on the Las Vegas Strip, with live talks, lectures, and workshops by world-acclaimed researchers and authors. This is Jimmy Church, by the way, and I'll be your host all weekend long, featuring topics like human origins, ancient technologies, indigenous teachings, workshops, a mass meditation, yoga and sound healing, music, and so much more. Don't miss our intimate sky watch and meteor shower over the infamous Area 51 airspace in Rachel, Nevada, with special surprise celebrity hosts guiding us through the night. Also introducing our Disclosure Fest VR Starship area with dozens of rides. You've got to check it out. This event will sell out. For more information and tickets, please visit disclosurefest.org.
Yes. Well, there are tickets still available. Isn't that fun? It'll be
Oh,
really
I'm so
fun.
excited. Yeah, it
There'll
will
be some
be.
great people there, and we'll meet people, and your friends are coming. I'd love to meet them. I'm going to have some books with me, and you're going to have some of your books, right?
Definitely.
But thank you, thank you, thank you. I will see you next weekend, and say hello to George
Yay.
for
I
me.
will.
Thank you. And people love you on my chat, So beautiful conversation. Yes, I had a session with Sarah in the Keys. She's awesome.